The New York Knicks have reportedly finally found a potential trade partner for Julius Randle. What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got some more NBA news to talk about with you guys. Some NBA news that I think a lot of you Knicks fans may actually be very happy with. It's currently being reported that the New York Knicks trading Julius Randle is a #1 priority, and the Utah Jazz are interested in him and could actually trade Mike Conley to the Knicks for Julius Randle. And this is all being reported by Robbie Stradicus, I think that's how you say it. I think this is a very, very interesting one. We've obviously heard reports that the Knicks are interested in Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul. I don't really like the Russell Westbrook move. I don't think it makes any sense, and I've talked about it in a couple of videos. I've also spoken about how I think the Chris Paul move really makes a lot of sense, considering that the Knicks really haven't had a decent point guard in, since like Jeremy Lin, which is really a very, very long time ago at this point. They only had Jeremy Lin for a little bit, and I think getting Chris Paul would be pretty good because, Paul can come in and help these younger players develop. But I think Mike Conley is actually a very, very good option, and this would be a very, very insane trade, I think, for the New York Knicks if they could potentially actually make this happen, as Mike Conley will be expiring, so he will have a $30 million one-year deal. And if the Knicks could get Mike Conley in for a season to help develop these younger players, and he can, show them really how he's gone about it throughout his career. He's still a decent playmaker. He's still a very, very decent defender. And yeah, again, he is still a very decent player. The reason people don't really like him that much anymore is just because of that contract. But if the Knicks can get rid of, Julius Randle's $19 million absurd deal, like it's absolutely, I don't understand how a player like Julius Randle can be on $19 million, considering, yeah, again, he is, like, I would say a sixth man at best, really, on if he's going to be a scoring option. I mean, he is a starting power forward in the league, but definitely not on $19 million. I think that Julius Randle doesn't benefit the Knicks at all, and his contract is just absolutely absurd. While if they were to bring in Mike Conley to the team, then yes, he's got a relatively absurd contract, but you get a lot of benefits from Mike Conley. Obviously, your team's not going to improve, that much. So if the Knicks really wanted to, continue tanking for a year or so, their team will definitely improve, but it won't improve to the point where they won't have a top pick, while Mike Conley can still very, very much improve all of these younger players on the team. Actually giving these young players like RJ, Barrett and Mitchell Robinson a decent point guard, a point guard who's been in the league for a long time, who can help develop these, couple players. And then, once the Mike Conley experiment's done for maybe a year, the Knicks could go out and maybe draft the point guard and then re-sign potentially Mike Conley if he wants to stay, to maybe have a backup role and just be a backup point guard to still, veteran all of these younger players. I don't actually think Mike Conley would re-sign. I feel like he would definitely go to a contender, but I still really like the move of getting Mike Conley to the team, because I know a lot of, Knicks fans really do want to keep rebuilding. Some want to, a lot of the Knicks fans want to make the playoffs and kind of rebuild at the same time, but a lot of Knicks fans have the same focus in, they want to rebuild, but actually do it properly. Like, they have rushed so many rebuilds at this point, and this is the first time where they've actually been severely bad enough where you would think now it's really impossible to rush a rebuild, especially if they could, still get in some more young talent. They definitely have some young talent. They just need higher picks, and with pick number 8, you're probably not going to get a future NBA All-Star player on your team. It usually doesn't always happen, but if the Knicks could maybe go into this, potential draft, then expect to maybe bring in a nice role player, or, a player who could be a very, very good role player in the near future, then maybe they could look at potentially drafting their future point guard or someone like that in the next year's draft. But that's not to say that players like Cole Anthony won't still be on the board by pick 8. He could definitely very much be still on the board. I just don't know if I really like Cole Anthony being a future point guard, of a team that much. I think he would be a very, very nice player, but the issue he has is a very similar issue to what Colin Sexton has. Both are incredible scorers. Sexton's obviously a very good defender at the point guard position, not so much at the shooting guard position. Cole Anthony's a little bit similar. I don't think he's as good as a defender at point guard, but both are incredible scorers. But the issue is both can't really play make, so they're better off playing that, 2 position. But then they're not tall enough. They can't really guard the shooting guard position, so it's not very, it's not a very good situation. I literally think Cole Anthony, yes, he could be a future starting point guard on a team, but he would need to have another player on the team that could definitely play make, and there aren't really any players on the Knicks that could potentially do it. I think Cole Anthony would literally be a really good player to still have on the team. And literally, they could actually just draft Cole Anthony at pick 8. Start Mike Conley, and Mike Conley could play the 25 to 30 minutes per game if they were able to get him. And then they could have Cole Anthony, come off the bench and play the 25 to 30 minutes per game as well, while, leading and developing off a very, very good veteran point guard in Mike Conley. And this would suit Cole Anthony too as well, is because Cole Anthony could actually play a bit of that shooting guard position, and, Mike Conley could go and maybe guard that shooting guard position. Like, I definitely feel like Conley can do it. He's done it a little bit at the Utah Jazz. He didn't really do it much at the Grizzlies, but he's definitely a good enough defender to be able to do it. Now, when it comes to the Utah Jazz side of things, I don't necessarily know if this deal gets done, because the main reason they end up having, Bojan is to really play him at that power forward position to kind of, run a very, very small ball lineup and actually, have Rudy Gobert just collecting all the rebounds, and then they can go from there. But honestly, I really don't think Bojan is just cut out to play that power forward position. I still feel like he's way too small, and when he plays on, certain power forwards here and there, he can't necessarily guard them as well as, a genuine power forward would do. I would really like him at small forward. I don't think Julius Randle is really, the right guy to have at power forward. But if that's who they think they should go out and get, then, again, I'm not a fan of it at all. I think I'm just not a fan of Julius Randle. I think Julius Randle would be much better to come off the bench, because he plays as a power forward, but he's not an efficient shooter. He plays more like a center at that power forward position, except he's not good enough to guard the center position. So that's why I feel like Julius Randle's role, moving forward once he gets on this absurd contract, would actually be to play, a potential 6-man role on a team, playing, big minutes as the backup power forward / center, very similar to how Montrezl Harrell has been going about it with the Clippers. So I feel like that's what Julius Randle's future role is. I can't really see him anything more than that. While I do really like the idea of having Mike Conley on the Knicks, as I think it very much helps develop all these younger players. And, as I was saying, I don't really think Cole Anthony can be maybe a future starting point guard really on a team, but he could definitely, come out. Well, again, I'm saying that as in, I don't think he could do it without a decent playmaker on the team, but I think he could definitely come out and prove me wrong. So I think if Cole Anthony's still on the board at pick number 8, it wouldn't even be the worst idea to actually go and select him. And then they'd have, Cole Anthony as their backup point guard for his first season. And then once, Mike Conley's done, then he'll have a lot of experience from Mike Conley. He could improve his defense, learning just the ways on how Mike Conley goes about it. He'd improve his playmaking, etc. He'd have a genuine veteran to learn from, which a lot of New York Knicks fans haven't had for literal years again. So that would be really good. And then in his second season, he would be a lot more prepared. I guarantee he would most likely be a better playmaker and defender if he was to learn from Mike Conley. And then his second season, he could really take that full-time starting point guard job on the New York Knicks. So that's how I feel about it. That's just my thoughts and opinions on it. I think Mike Conley would be really, really nice for the New York Knicks. And if they get rid of Julius Randle's terrible contract, again, you're going to have to pay Conley $11 million more. But honestly, I would literally rather do that, especially if I'm improving the young talent a lot and getting the young talent an actual veteran player to learn from. I would definitely do that straight away if I was the New York Knicks, and I definitely feel like a lot of New York Knicks fans just really want to see Julius Randle out of the team. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all the latest NBA news and NBA content. Of course, don't forget to comment in the comment section down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on this? Do you guys think it'd be a good idea for the New York Knicks to go out and get Mike Conley? Do you guys think it would be a bad idea? Again, I definitely would really like to know your thoughts and opinions on it all down below. But also, don't forget to subscribe to my gaming channel and my IRL/long channels. Links for them will all be in the description down below. And definitely don't forget to check out my podcast as well if you haven't already. Links for that will also be in the description down below. But as I was saying, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.